Hello there, people. I hope you're well. In this video, I wanted to break down what the moon sign and moon actually means in astrology and the truth about it. So, this will be based on Jeffrey Wolf Green's interpretation of the moon sign, those like spiritual downloads he had in the 80s from this Indian sage about what real astrology is about, how you are supposed to evolve your soul, and so on. So, the moon actually represents our sense of self. It's our sense of self identity and how we live with ourselves on a moment to moment basis and daily basis, because the moon is our childhood, our homeland, our mother, family, and how we were raised. And based on those experiences, we shape a sense of self identity, you know, where we're given a name, and it makes sense. But the moon also encompasses the south and north node and all the aspects to the moon. So that also is our sense of self and ego. It's not only the moon, house, and sign placement. So the south node is also, our past experiences, how we dealt with time, past life energy. And based on, you know, how we dealt with time in the past, we also shape a sense of self identity. If we have a south node in Sagittarius, you would come from this, spiritual, philosophical, and educational home, and you could have been someone who dealt with time in a very intuitive way, in a very abstract way, and in a very emotional way. So with the emotional mind being Sagittarius, ninth house, intuitive mind. So here the moon sign also signifies how we change, because the moon is also going through 28 cycles from the new moon to the full moon, waxing gibbous, and all those things. So our sense of self is not static like in mundane astrology, like you're gonna have the same sun sign for your whole life, you're gonna be the same person. No, the moon is always changing. So moon correlates to change. It's a necessary process for evolution to occur. So if you have a mutable moon sign as your moon placement, like moon in Pisces, and you have a south node in Sagittarius, then you would be open-minded and adaptable to later transition to the north node, which is our soul mission as well, and the time in the future, and how we deal with time in the future. So this person could be open-minded from being this very intuitive and cosmological individual to someone, north node in Gemini, someone who is very logical and empirical and having diversity of different truths and life experiences. And so this would be a smooth transition. It's based on the moon, how we handle the past and the future, our sense of self, our ego. So, yeah. So the moon is how we experience reality. Jeffrey Wolf Green used to mention this movie projector, and the lens being the ego, the moon. And without the lens, the movie would just go round and round and round. But if we have a lens, we see the movie. So the ego is us in reality and how we experience and deal with reality and so on. And yeah, so some issues with the moon, some crisis that can happen. We have to take in consideration the grand water trine. So the moon is here, Cancer, and then it's Scorpio on this grand earth trine. So the moon is self-consistency and how we feel internally secure. It's very important. So by having this self-consistency, we have this survival mechanism, because the moon is our ego. It's how we give meaning and personalize all the other planets in the birth chart. So the moon, ego, I had this spiritual experience, Jupiter, and I had this relationship, moon, Venus, so we have this self-consistency. The moon is how we believe about our values, our spiritual thoughts, and relationship thoughts. And we have this, and it can be very constant, especially for someone who got the moon in Aquarius or Leo, someone who's very fixed in their opinions and views. So Then we have this grand water trine that goes to the moon, I mean Scorpio, 8th house, Pluto. So then a crisis happens when this self-consistency isn't serving us, like when we are being challenged by life, or some other people have better spiritual views than us or something. Then this confrontation happens because it becomes a limitation, being static, being self-consistent. So Scorpio energy is about confronting limitations in crisis usually. So then a crisis happen, and then we go through this ego death. We all go through it, and then we change our whole persona, our values, our taboos, our beliefs, our occupation, all those things. We all, because it's the grand water trine. So the moon also got this like need to be self-consistent and not being adaptable to change depending on which moon sign you have. A moon in Gemini would be very open to change, because it's mutable. But a moon in Aquarius would not be that way. They wouldn't. They would be very fixated on all their views and not being adaptable to transition to their North Node or any given change and situation. So yeah, and like I said, the moon is internal security. So the moon is naturally making an opposition to Saturn Capricorn, and Saturn Capricorn being our, how we get external security, our occupation, our career, and based on we get internal security from external security and taking motion and doing something with consistency. We have a job, profession, we interact with people, we also shape a sense of self. So that's why the moon is the ego as well. And yeah, so the moon also got two expressions according to Jeffrey Wolf Green. So it is the primal mother and I think it was called the primal mother and like goddess mother or something. So the primal mother is, we have those emotional needs. We have a need for internal security. We can become very emotional. We can react very aggressive based on how we have those emotional demands. And that can cause crisis, Scorpio, So then we have the goddess mother, and the goddess mother is more akin to uh, knowing that real security is from within, from meditation, or it's not like you have a job or a beautiful house and a family. Internal security is from, that's the healthier and higher expression of the moon. So that's what we all should strive towards. And yeah, so this is some concepts that the moon signifies in the birth chart, and I can go on forever about this. But the moon is also in the grand water trine. We have the moon at the top of the moon, the Cancer. We have Pisces, so the moon can also correlate to daydreaming and manifestation and thinking about the future as a way of creating internal security, because when we imagine the future and so on, what can go wrong with creating internal security if it's some hard, situation that we might go through. So the moon is very important here as well, it making this grand water trine to Pisces, moon, Scorpio. So it's important to understand the moon. And this is the truth, like I don't like that the sun in mundane astrology is something that you're going to be your whole life. The moon is going through those 28 lunar phases, and it is how we change. And even though we are reluctant to change based on this self-sufficiency that the moon we have to do it. That's the reality. The reality is always changing, and we can see it in the moon's moment. So like a good advice to see who you are today based on your self-identity and how you get internal security and so on. You can look at the progressed moon, it's very important, and you can see what yourself is like today. It's always changing, it's always evolving through transmutation, Scorpio, confrontation of limitations, and so on and so forth. It's very important for our soul evolution journey. All right, dear people, I hope you enjoyed this video and I made some sense and I shed some light to this. Truth. Okay. If you're interested of me breaking down your natal moon and progressed moon and your south and north node that we can also correlate to the ego and aspects, feel free to email me at karlnybrink@gmail.com. I will write down below. Okay, people, have a really beautiful day. Namaste and may God bless you.